Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 136 of the RRBG podcast. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Thunderking Coffee. Go to their website, thunderkingbrewing.com, and check out their selection. They got their Merlot barrel-aged coffee beans, Purple Rain, and my personal favorite, their light roast Morning Attitude. When you get to the checkout, use the promo code RRBG and save 20% on your purchase. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Saints Joints. Check them out. Go to saintsjoints.com. They have a wonderful selection of these pre-rolled variety packs featuring artwork from some of the best artists in the world right now, including Skinner, who's been on the podcast before. So check them out. Go to saintsjoints.com and let them know that we sent you. And finally, a shout out to our friends at Hella Hot Sauce. Go to their website, hellahotsauce.com, and check out their selection. They got a bunch of hot sauces that they've done in collaboration with bands like Ghoul, Exhumed, and soon Hatebreed. Go to hellahotsauce.com. Please don't forget to check out the Patreon page. Go to patreon.com/RRBG. Sign up today and support the podcast. You'll get access to exclusive content like the interviews I did at Psycho Las Vegas and some of the video content that I'll be putting out from these live events. Just go to patreon.com/RRBG and sign up today. In this episode, I talked to the BMX legend himself, Rick Thorne. We met up at Dough Pizza in West Hollywood and had a great conversation about his music career, his plans to step into the world of comedy. He goes in depth about his pain management rituals. We talk about dealing with mental struggles and what it takes to succeed. It was a great conversation. It was an honor sitting down with him. I hope you guys enjoy it. Don't forget to follow him on social media at Rick Thorne on all the things. Cheers. Hello, everyone. We're sitting here at Dough Pizza in West Hollywood. I'm sitting with Rick Thorne, BMX Legend. How are you?
What up, dude? I'm glad you met me at Dough. This is my spot, dude.
Hell yeah.
I've been coming in here for like the last 24 or 5 years.
Wow, really?
Yeah, my name's on the wall, bro, right back there. So it used to be called Frankie and Johnny's.
Oh, shit.
And so that was the wall, and they had a bunch of celebrities sign the walls. And so when the new owner took over and gutted this place and redid it, he kept certain
Chunks of the wall?
Yeah, like right here, like there's Pink right here. Where's she
Yeah.
at? She's right. Where's she? She used to be right here.
Well, I see they
Sean
have it framed
Lennon.
off with plastic and keeping it safe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of
Pretty
cool.
awesome, man.
So
That's a
I've been
good
coming
idea.
in here for 25 years to take a piss.
Have you been here your whole life in LA?
No.
Okay.
No, I've been here. It's funny. Like I said, I come in and use the restroom a lot. That's how I meet. When new people work, they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I've been coming here for 20 years. Use this toilet." No, I moved here in '97. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah. But I started traveling and touring when I was about 15 or so. You know, with bikes and stuff.
Yeah.
So here they're coming after us right now.
Oh, shit.
Hold on.
That's cool. We'll edit
Drama
that
on
out.
Sunset. Hold on.
Very professional setup I have here, guys.
That's how sick this show is, bro.
This is a real show. I just hang out and we talk.
This just makes it cool, though, bro.
Yeah.
Like, the studio stuff's cool, but after a while, it's like...
Everything starts to sound the same.
Yeah, like, from my experience of interviewing people for radio and TV and stuff, is when you go into a studio, I think people become different.
They feel like they have to put a show on, right? They feel like they're on spot,
Even different on
you know?
a camera.
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
radio, I find radio to be easy, personally. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
Because there's really, like, no one's... You could be off yourself a little bit more.
Sure.
When there's a camera... You could see people, I don't know, I'm just rambling, but...
No, for sure. And
you
they
can
get
see their
self-conscious.
body change and shit.
They get all self-conscious. Like if
Even
my
me,
shirt,
I do. Yeah, I'm like, damn.
I tried. I did a little pilot for this podcast to do like a live TV version of it, you know? And I noticed how much I touch my face. I'm like freaking out, like, oh, man. And like, well, stop touching your face.
Well, you're going to be your hardest critic, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, radio's cool. It's fun, man. I'm stoked for this podcast. Thanks for having me on. But yeah, I moved out here in 97. 97 is when we moved out.
That was when the big boom was happening, more or less, with, Tony Hawk and BMX. It was like the top of the world. MTV was putting it on, and
Yep.
the video games were doing amazing, and like I feel that maybe I'm out of the element, maybe I'm in my own bubble, but I feel like that's not as big as it used to be. Yeah.
Well, here's the deal.
It doesn't like run the world
Thank
like
you.
it used to.
Well, here's the deal. It's like anything else. When stuff comes out, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was new. Punk rock was new. It was like hip hop then punk rock. Like, kind of got on the radio more, especially punk rock at that time. And then it's like, okay, well, what goes with that? Oh, the sport. Oh, well, there's skating and bikes and stuff. But we'd been doing that for such a long time. But at that time, X Games came out in '95. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just posted something today from 1996 at the closing ceremonies of the Olympics. There was 8 bikers, 8 skaters, and 8 inline skaters. And we all did a choreographed show in front of 80,000 people in Atlanta.
Nice.
Okay. And it was like the presenting to the Olympics, like, hey, these are I hate to say action sports or extreme sports, but that's what
it was.
It's been titled.
Yeah.
To present it, right? So you look at 95, it got on X Games first year. That's when Warped Tour started. And then MTV Sports and Music Festival came out like 96, 97, I think 97. So people were interested in it because it got on TV through the X Games. Even though we had been already riding, it's a lot like what comedy.
It was more underground.
It's like comedy right now. People know comedy's around, but Netflix really brought it to everyone's attention.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Well, yeah, and then
Netflix constantly is pumping out new specials.
There's a resurgence with the Comedy Store too, because I've heard the stories that there was a time when it was dead, and there was no one there. But now that you got Rogan and you got Joey Diaz and you got Tony and all these dudes are doing shows there constantly, it's now like a hot spot. People come here now to go to the Comedy Store when before it was like empty. You would sit there empty,
And it's also because they got podcasts.
Yeah.
And they built a fan base.
Yep.
And I think it just became more accessible to watch comedy. I remember growing up as a kid. It was hard to find comedy.
Yeah.
And then at the time, there was only a couple comics that you could get on VHS to rent or buy. Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Robin Williams, Eddie Murphy. The greats, the legends, they're badass, for sure. But nowadays, with I recently stepped into doing comedy about 8 months ago, and people were like, dude, you got in it at the worst time. Oh my gosh. And I was like, why? They're like,
it's oversaturated.
Well, yeah. I mean, to a degree, it's like we're at the day and age where more people are taking more risk at things because they see that it's possible through the internet and people doing their own shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like to do it, I don't think it's a bad. If my theory is that if that person can do it, there's no reason why you can't do it. You just got to do it your own way.
I don't believe in the whole oversaturation thing. Go out there and do good. And if you do good, people will pay attention. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
No matter how many other people there are, you think that Tony, for example, you think Tony will be like, oh, well, Joe Rogan and Joey Diaz are already doing it. I'm not going to do it. It's oversaturated. Like, no, man. Everyone should do it.
Right. And he's great, speaking to him, because he's funny. He's got a certain vibe to him. He's got his own show. He created something. Yeah.
And the show that show helps comedians. Like you went up. That's how I met you. Yeah. So I saw you that night. You got up and did a minute. And I mean, it's
hard, bro. A minute's hard.
It's a hard minute.
I'm not that good at comedy yet. And what I mean by that is like, I know that I have the potential to be. I'm learning though, and not to say that I'm not good at it, but I'm learning that like how to tell a joke and what kind of comic I am by developing my style. So up there you get 1 minute. So if you're like a storyteller kind of comic, that's difficult.
Yeah.
1 minute's kind of like time for 2 or 3 jokes. A couple bait and switches and everyone chuckles and then you get interviewed. So it's hard, for me at least, because I was like, had this pressure, like, dude, I don't even think I'm going to be able to get my punchline out in a minute, But I was very grateful. My buddy Danny works at the
I know Danny. Store. He does the lights up for that show.
And, He's been working there a long time, and so I've been studying a lot there with him, and like just studying me, like watching the comics. Even though I've watched comedy my whole life, I'm 50 years old, bro.
Yeah.
I have no problem being in front of people or talking. It's just learning how to tell a joke to your friends is a lot different than learning to tell a joke in front of people that don't know you.
Yeah.
You gotta make them laugh now.
Yeah. You gotta make them laugh right now. You gotta make them like you. You gotta have a presence too. If you're just kind of up there, kind of like crunched over, like, but if you go out there and you're a personality, you have a thing.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard. But I do appreciate that show does give opportunity to people. I feel there's a lot of people that go through that system now. That
I think the show's badass.
they
man.
graduate, and it's like a school. They go through that, and they end up, like Ali Mikowski was one of the regulars on there. She ended up being on tour with Rogan too.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you go in there and hone your craft, and that's what you got to do. You got to get out there.
Yeah.
That's what LA is about.
It is, and the thing is like nowadays you can do it anywhere, but I still feel like you need to be where it's at.
Yeah.
Being on the Strip doing comedy is like a dream to me almost in a sense, because I grew up watching Richard Pryor live on the Sunset Strip.
Yeah.
Did it at the Palladium. I'm also in a band. I have a band.
Yeah.
So playing the Viper, playing the Roxy is always or the Whiskey's always cool. So for me, like, if you want to do something, don't listen to what other people say, because they're going to only gauge it off of how they tried it. And if they didn't succeed, then they're not going to have anything positive to say about it. They're going to say, oh, it's oversaturated, I should do it.
Yeah.
Why? Because you tried it and it wasn't what you thought it was? Well, that's going to be different from me. You know what I mean? So I don't listen to people like that. I just like whatever.
For sure. Is that one of the reasons you moved from Kansas over here to, because the whole boom with BMX and just kind of, you knew that this was the place to be?
Kind of. Like at the time I got divorced for the first time. 95 was X Games. I grew up in Kansas City, but at the time I was living in St. Louis. We did the first X Games, and then, we started doing more shows, and then, one day I get a call from Airwalk, and they're like, hey, we want you and Tony Hawk to go to Australia for the Big Day Out tour. I didn't know what the hell it was. Then we're doing a show we're riding a ramp next to Rage Against the Machine on stage.
That's amazing.
It's amazing.
That's amazing.
I'm like, dude, so your eyes started to open up more of like what's possible. And it was just timing, I was like, okay, well, am I going to stay here? At the time I was heartbroken. I'm not anymore, but at the time I was. Am I going to go back to Kansas City? Am I going to stay in St. Louis? Or am I going to just go where everyone always thought I was from California? I might as well go for it. And it just was timing. It wasn't even planned. I did it. I moved, and things were happening around all of us, and we really didn't know what the future would be. But we're like, cool opportunity. We're making money now. I mean, I worked in a restaurant for 7 years, busting tables at an Olive Garden. So I wasn't born into any of this shit, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, fuck, opportunity to make money riding. Damn, man, I could keep doing this. And so it just happened at the right time. And then by being out here, I think helped, because then you're able to go into businesses and sponsors and meet people and be out and say, oh, cool, and mash up an idea. It's hard to do when you're in Missouri at that time, for me at least, with the people around me were great people, and my bike riding bros were the bomb, but for opportunities, they weren't as much.
Yeah, the internet wasn't as big as it was, as it is now.
And there was no TV out there, so someone's asking me, MTV's like, yo, we want you to host something. And I was like, what the hell? MTV's asking me to host something? I don't even know how to fucking host. I just went for it. You know what I mean? So I'm just rambling right now, but it was like a time where to answer your question, what you originally said is like, during that time moving out, yes, everything was booming, but we really didn't feel like we knew it was, but we were just excited to take the opportunity.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We're like, and we didn't even know if it would last. We're like, dude, cool. Like, let's just do it.
Fuck yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
That's how you do it. That's pretty much how I ended up here in LA, because I grew up, I was born in Jersey. Then from Jersey at 15, everybody moved to Miami. And this is all like a whole lengthy story of criminal activity with my father and everything, but we ended up in Miami for like 20 years,
Oh, wow.
And then I ended up, I said, fuck it. My uncle has lived out here his whole life. So I was like, you know what? I want to live out there. If I want to make something happen, it has to be there.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen in Miami, and damn sure not going to happen in Kansas City, or like you said, you know what I mean? And especially in those years.
Yeah. I mean, I got some friends of mine that are really top pros that have been pros for a long time that still live in Kansas City. Matt Hoffman, a good bro of mine, he still lives in Oklahoma. They've been able to maintain their hometown, and they're happy there, and they're still ripping. For me, I just wanted to explore all different types of stuff: film, TV, radio. You know what I mean? Like, go for it all.
Yeah.
And really, honestly, the main reason that really enticed me to California all the time was the weather, bro.
Oh yeah.
Even from the Midwest, like summers are gnarly, winters are gnarly.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go somewhere where I could ride all the time and not have any issue with the weather.
Yeah,
So.
I hear you.
Does it feel like it's getting louder in here?
A little bit. It's fine.
Shut up, guys. I'm trying to do...
I did interviews at NAMM, and like there's bands playing and people wailing on guitars.
Still could hear us?
Yeah. It's
right.
fine.
Got it. Okay.
Talking about music, you said you're in a band. You were in a band with one of my buddies, Raw Diaz, right? Wasn't the Good Guys in Black?
Okay. I started Good Guys. I didn't know your buddies with Raw. Raw's amazing.
Yeah, dude.
I started Good Guys in Black in 2008 or into 2007. It's basically my band. What I mean by that is that it was my idea. I've been the glue. I've been the one that's funded all of it and floating members all the time.
Okay.
Right. So Raw joined my band for a few years, and we did a couple music videos together and played a lot of shows. And I remember asking Raw, "Hey, bro, before you get in this band, because I got tired of dealing with people that like acted like they were into the same kind of vibe but weren't." And I was hitting dead end streets trying to put together a band. Okay. And I said, what band do you like the most? What do you like? And he told me Suicidal Tendencies. And I said, okay, cool. We're going to get along great. Because I'd done a little mini tour with those guys. I did 4 shows with them a couple years before Raw got in the band. So I was like, all right, cool. Because I love Mike and I love Suicide. Yes. Being a BMXer, we need, that's the stuff I like to ride to, right?
Yeah.
Turns out that now he's been the bass player for Suicidals for the last 3 years, and it's such a rad story that he got in the band that he liked the most.
Yeah, dude.
Who gets to say that? Not many people.
Not a lot of people.
And he's an amazing bass player. So
yeah, no, he's great. I saw the video you guys put out, and
the Play to Win or whatever.
Yeah.
And see, I was having a hard time at the time because for me, it's always been trying to detach the two. I was trying to where I wanted people to take me serious as a musician and not say, oh, you're a bike rider trying to be in a band or be a musician. And not many bike riders have started bands.
Right.
A lot of skaters have. Not many bike riders. Not many bike riders at my level where you're X Games, you're hosting MTV, you're doing this stuff, you're in movies, you're doing all this shit, and then you start a band. There was nobody like me in BMX that had done that. So I think people at first were like, here we go, and little shenanigans, jump around, and I wanted to be taken serious. So when we did that video, I was trying to do 2 different characters. I was trying to separate the BMX look Rick to the Good Guys in Black, right?
Right.
But the reality is, it wasn't the right way for me to be. Okay. I just need to be me, and still be the character I am. And I went through a lot of like, I don't know, I'm just opening up right now, but I went through like a lot with the music, trying to figure out, I was thinking too much, and I wasn't feeling, and just feel what's right and don't overthink it.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
And so I had to reevaluate, like, what am I trying to figure out? Just be you, write some good songs, go ride your bike, go play some shows, mash it up with some people, have fun.
Right.
While you're trying to create this whole other character away from what you've already built, it didn't make sense.
It's
you know what I mean? It was tough. It's a tough position to be in, actually.
It's your head trying to come up with reasoning, like, expectations. Like, you see what's on TV or whatever, and you're like, well, maybe I need to figure out a character.
Or like people know me as the bike rider Rick. I dress a certain way. I dress the way I am. So if I'm on stage, I felt like it was hard for people to separate the two.
Yeah.
And be like, and not take my music as serious as I would like for them to. But the reality was, people were taking it serious. That was just all me messing with my own head. And I had to go through that to go, just be. Don't try to figure out something that you're not. Or not even that you're not, but like just don't confuse the situation. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It's totally cool. But Raw's a great dude, man. I fucking love that guy.
Well, you were bringing that up. I mean, I think it's a topic that people like to talk about, where we impose rules on ourselves to like our self-conscious like behaviors. Like, oh, well, maybe I'm not cool enough if I do this. Maybe my dudes won't like it or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't so much that. It was just, I wanted to be taken serious and not be remembered as just the bike rider.
Right.
And so it's kind of like if I would have started out as a musician and made it as a musician, like huge, and then decided to ride bikes, it'd be kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
But when you're a bike rider and no one's done it in my territory, really. A couple guys started bands. One guy was a drummer, one guy was a guitarist, but a frontman, singer, right? And then say, I'm going to do this. It was just, I just felt like at first people really didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Because they knew me as the bike guy.
Right.
It wasn't that I thought they wouldn't like it. I just wanted to be taken serious because I was devoting so much into it and learning along the way. So anyways, that video is called Play to Win, and it's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, it was great, man.
But that's why you see me in a suit in half of it, and then the other half is me as a bike rider. So
no, I like that. I didn't get that from watching it. I was just like, oh, maybe he's just had different outfits.
I got mascara on too, dude.
I did see that. Like I saw Raw with some mascara on.
Yeah, and people were like, why you wear mascara and a fedora and shit? And I'm like, because at the time, there was a lot going on in my life, and I felt like I was taking a lot of punches. And that was in my mind, like, I could have a black eye, but I'm going to keep going.
Right.
And that's what I saw in my head. But I think when people saw on the outside, like, what are you doing with mascara on, dude? I was like, well, it looks kind of cool.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about you have to have a very high pain tolerance.
Yeah, pretty high, yeah.
Has it always been like that since you were a kid? Like, did you feel like, is that why you kind of got into riding? Because riding is, dangerous. You fall, you scrape your knees, you hurt yourself all the time. And on top of that, you got all these tattoos everywhere. So I assume that your whole life you had a high pain tolerance.
I mean, I guess I did. I think, or I just know how to deal with it. You know how to like, you know how to push pain out of your body and not just stuff it. Meaning that, like, if all you do is take prescription pills, you're just stuffing the pain.
Yeah.
Like, you're masking it. Because it's still deep-rooted inside of you. And so I luckily just have always challenged myself and explored ways to be better. And when I first moved out here, I met a massage therapist in Orange County that I still see to this day, but not as much, that taught me a lot of, like, the art of acknowledging pain and accepting it, and that the emotional stress is more damaging than the physical to a body. And a lot of things I learned along the way of, like, ways for me to, like, accept pain and release it and not hold on to it. You know what I mean? And I still practice that. And, like, we're talking stuff from, like, this dude is so badass, like ionized water, inversion boards,
wow.
Ways to stretch, ways to release, ways where to put your mind at when, like, it's like he used to go to the core, bro, like to the bone, scraping your ligaments with a rock.
Oh, God.
And the second you would accept it, you would feel your body release. But we hold on to it, and you're protected. And so I learned that philosophy with, like, if I fall, I just always don't hold on to the pain. Because, like, so, say you're stressed out or something, right? And you're having a hard day, a hard time with your girl or whatever. And you're fighting, and you're stressed out, and financially you're not feeling good, and it could be anything. And you fall and you smack your elbow. All that emotion you have with all that stress could go into the injury as well.
Yeah.
Which makes the injury worse. So that's why the emotional is more brutal than. I'm not saying physically you can't be hurt, but I'm just saying mental stress is really damaging to the body. So learning how to, like, that's what I needed to work on more. I could take the pain. It was learning to train my mind to accept it.
That's awesome to hear from you, because honestly, especially from your scene, like, you know that there's two sides of the spectrum usually when it comes to punk rock, and it's either you're heavy into drugs,
right,
or you're completely straight edge, hardcore.
Yeah.
And most of the time, the bands that I grew up listening to were into the drugs and the alcohol, so I ended up leaning into that world myself, you know what I mean? So when I would do crazy things, like I would do a lot of wrestling and a lot of physical things, that I do dumb shit like the jackass stuff and jump off of roofs and do, dumb stunts to entertain.
Yeah, but still cool. Whatever.
Yeah, it was fun.
I mean, fun shit at the time.
But instead of handling it like you're saying, I would turn to the booze, I'd turn to the pills and all of that. So thankfully I've moved away from that in my life by not hurting myself as much.
Yeah, well, I get it. For me, I've never done any drugs.
That's good.
And I totally understand where you're coming from. People always trip out on that, like, no, you never done coke or speed or this. I said, never. They're like, are you serious? I'm like, I'm dead 100% on my grandmother's grave, man. I ain't never done any drugs. I didn't start drinking until I was 27.
Wow.
I rode, and I had so much more stuff that I had seen as a kid that I didn't want to be like, that but I still learned a behavior. So I had to unlearn the behavior and reprogram myself. Dude, I got a crazy story about all that. Like, but on the subject of drugs and stuff, it's like, I think that, I've had good friends, unfortunately, commit suicide because they've been addicted to painkillers and no one knew and stuff like that. I think it's a whole other topic, but I really think that those pharmaceutical companies know what they're doing. They know what they're making. They're in the business of selling drugs. That's how they make that's how they make their money.
Yeah.
And so, but if there's a way that you could cure yourself, and it starts with the mind, your body will follow. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's what I learned. That's at least what's worked for me. And so to answer your question, high pain tolerance, yeah, but also I've learned to like not hold on to the pain.
Yeah.
You know, and not harp on it, not talk about it.
Yeah.
Like what I mean is that when you talk about things, your subconscious mind hears it, and then that's all you pick up.
Yeah, starts bringing it back.
But it's all you see because your subconscious mind leads out what you say and think. Yeah. So if I keep going, oh, my knee hurts, it's just going to keep hurting. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, well, let's just work through that and get over it. I get over it. I know it sounds crazy, but it works.
No, it does. It
work. Works for me.
It does work.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean,
it works for everyone, I think, if you put your mind to it. Like a lot of people don't put the effort or time into it. I did a lot of when I got out of my cycle of drug abuse and whatever, I started meditating and doing a lot of traveling and trying to do yoga and exercise, get myself in the right place, and I discovered that like as long as you put your mind to it, you really can do. I know it's so cliche, everybody fucking says it.
No, it's true.
Put your mind to it and do it. Like yeah, it's how it works, man.
Yeah.
You're sitting around complaining isn't gonna fix it for you, you know.
No, and if you sit around and complain about it, all you're going to see is what you're complaining about.
Yeah.
Because your subconscious mind listens to what you say and what you think and takes it literal.
Yeah.
In other words, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between rich or poor, hot or cold, high or low, poor or broke, or rich or whatever. So when people always say, hey, how you doing? And some people always say, oh, dude, I'm tired. then your subconscious mind will find more tired for you.
More reasons to be tired, yeah.
Now, listen, man, I'm telling you, it's nothing new. It's like the power of speech, man. It's been around forever. It's biblical. Like if you say, oh, I'm broke, then you're going to continually see things that are broke. And I know someone listening around like be like, dude, you're out of your mind. What are you talking about? It's not that simple. And actually, it's what you think and say that really steers and directs you and how you feel about things. Like, if you feel negative about money, do you think that's gonna allow you to bring more money in?
No.
Because you have a negative connection to it. So, check it out, man. I got into this because I got divorced for the third time. And I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna run out and get another relationship? I'm gonna work on me now. I need to work on me. And the first thing I did is I learned how the mind works, and I found this guy named Napoleon Hill. He's like the inventor of PMA. He wrote the book Think and Grow Rich. Well, I found lectures online of his for 10 hours for like $2.95. And I learned how the mind worked. And I learned how the subconscious mind worked. And I learned that it never goes to sleep. And I thought, oh shit, that's why they always said don't fall asleep in front of the TV. You're just logging all this garbage.
Yep.
So I thought, wait a second, if that's true, why don't I get some audiobooks and some areas that I feel I need help in and listen to them while I sleep?
Huh. Okay.
It's hard for me to read, actually. I kind of veer off on reading. I always was that way. Like, I fall asleep or my mind travels a little bit more. It's hard for me to sit down and read, like, 50 pages straight. I ain't gonna lie. It's always been difficult for me to do that. And so I thought, well, why don't I listen to these and like while I'm sleeping, man, it's just like logging this information. At first it was like, like 2 or 3 times ain't gonna solve you, you know what I mean? Sure. But over the course of a year of doing it, I started to go into situations and I'd see, oh, red flag, didn't see that before. And I started to like reprogram what I thought I needed. And what I thought I needed was I was afraid to be alone. I say this all the time. I was afraid to be alone. I was a people pleaser. And I had self-guilt. So the type of people I would attract into my life as a partner, that's what it was. Because that's what I thought I needed. And when I learned that I didn't need that anymore, and I came across someone that needed that, I said, oh, red flag, man, that person ain't for me.
Right.
And I pumped the brakes.
Wow.
Rather than just jumping right back into the pattern and then blaming someone else. It's like you have to look at yourself because my mother always told me it takes 2 to tango. There's a reason why you attracted that person. By the way you walk and talk and how you feel and it all is chemistry. But when you change your chemistry, the old one, you're like, this ain't working. And so I learned to love myself more. I learned to to focus on me more. I learned to put myself first before everybody. Meaning that like I have to take care of me in order to take care of my kids.
Right.
I can't people please my kids. They're gonna disrespect me.
Sure.
Right. So what I'm getting at is that all this goes also back to what you said about the pain thing.
Yeah.
A lot of my pain was more emotional, self-inflicted, like guilt pain and like stuff like that was holding me down, even though no one could see that.
Right. Because
you know, all these opportunities and you're riding and shit and you're at these events, but inside of me, I needed to change. And so I was like, all right, well, fuck it. Like, I'm up for the challenge. I mean, fuck, I hit rock bottom, I felt like. You know, like I'd never done drugs, but I felt like I was a drug addict coming off of like drugs or alcohol or some shit. Because it was a weird feeling at first to really, truly look at yourself and accept it and say yes. And once you take that step, you're like, you start to grow in a different way. You know what I mean? I'm rambling, but I'm just breaking it down.
It makes a lot of sense, man. It makes a lot of sense.
And I needed to do that to survive, to raise my children.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. I made a change like that not too long ago, and it was a very difficult change because of that. Because
awesome.
I would also think about where's the line between being too selfish, right? You know, because you're doing this, like, for example, like my family wanted me to help them with something. And I'm like, I can't even help myself, can't let alone help you. So once I started, like, let me fix myself, and then maybe I can turn around and lend a helping hand, right? So you're doing it for non-selfish reasons, but, you know, where's that line of being too selfish? Like, now you're just ignoring because you're focusing only on you, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. I mean,
Yeah.
I could see where you could be with that, and I could see where that's like a tough situation to be in, that like probably you could only answer that because,
Sure,
you know, you have your relationship with your family. I don't know that.
Yeah.
But I will say that selfish isn't a bad thing, that you've been taught that it's a bad thing. That if you can't clearly do something for someone and you don't have the time to do it, and you wish that you could, right? Inconsiderate, I always say, is something different. Like if you're inconsiderate, that's different to me than selfish. Because look, dude, and anyone listen, I'm not saying don't help somebody. I'm not saying that like if you're a good homie or someone needs your help and you can help them, help them if you can. They're your friend or whatever. You know, if you're getting used, no. If you know you're getting used, no, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And that was the old me. I knew at times I was being used, and I still lended a helping hand. And it's like you're put on this earth to live your life the best you can, and that, you know, you're taught selfish is bad. And probably anyone listening, they're like, what do you mean selfish is bad? You cold-hearted son of a bitch. You're not going to help people. You are a selfish son of a bitch. But the reality is that if you ask me to do something for you and I can't do it, and I clearly say, look, dude, I'd like to, but I already made plans and I can't break these plans.
Yeah.
And I don't have the time. I barely have any time to breathe. I got 2 kids. I wish I could maybe try to do something else for you, but I can't do that. You're going to hang up the phone, and not you, but people would be like, oh, that dude's selfish. He doesn't want to help me. Mm-hmm. When the reality is, I told you I couldn't help you. You're selfish by not respecting what I need to get done.
Right.
So it's kind of like every situation's different with that, because, you know, you just, that self-guilt of selfishness is really what messed me up. I had a house in the hills and shit. I couldn't enjoy it by myself.
Yeah.
I had to get somebody that I felt like I had to fix because I didn't want to be selfish, because the self-guilt kicked in. And I look back, I'm like, I don't necessarily, no, I'm comfortable with myself now.
That's good, man.
Do you know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I'm saying this the right way or anyone listening's getting it twisted. Every situation's different. You know, whatever situation your life is, your relationships you have with your friends or your family or whatever is different than mine. I'm just telling you for what works for me. And what I had to learn about myself is that self-guilt sucks.
Yeah.
Because you can never enjoy anything you work for. And that was me, man.
Yeah.
No one knew it.
It's hard. It's hard to...
I didn't even know it.
It's hard to talk about. And, yeah, you wouldn't even know it yourself at the time.
No.
And then when you find out, it's hard to even talk about it to people because, you know, to try and explain that. And, they don't, like you said, they see you out doing shows or, you know, taking pictures of you doing your bike. You know, they think nothing's wrong. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the illusion that, like, we've always thought. Like, even back when you were a kid, you see celebrities on TV and shit, and you're like, what? How's this happen? He's got everything going for him. And it's like, yeah, well, sometimes it isn't what you think it would be.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it's better than you would think it would be. So, I mean, like I said, in your case, you're talking about the selfish thing. Is like, I get it. That's just a fine line to like of just having that balance, man, of like taking care of yourself, but still caring for others. but making sure that you take care of yourself first, because how can you ever take care of anyone else
Right.
if you don't take care of
If you
yourself?
run yourself ragged and you can't even, help someone move a couch or whatever because you're so exhausted from helping 5 other people. There's always needs to be a line that you need to be like, all right, I need to stop, work on myself a little bit, and then move forward. Yeah.
Well, that's been the challenging part too about my life raising kids on your own.
Yeah.
Is that's probably why I've stayed single for forever. Is because I wanted to focus on me when I don't have my kids, but raising kids with no family out here and no girl is very challenging.
Yeah.
To where you have to take care of them, but then still have enough time to take care of you, because like some people say, oh, I have kids now, it's like my life's over. I was like, no, dude, you still have to take care of yourself, because then you'll go insane and you'll feel like
and you'll be a bad parent.
Well, and you'll just feel like not good, that you're not accomplishing anything, at least I'm that way. And so finding that balance with them at the first was pretty challenging, that I still had to ride, I still had to do this, I still had to find time. So then when I didn't have my kids, it was all about that. And that just became my life. Raise my kids, I don't have my kids, shift gears, do all this other stuff, get involved with the other stuff. Oh, got the kids, back to this.
Right.
Take them with me if I have to, don't take them with me, whatever. And learning how to shift gears with like that also helped teach me, from my story, to not have that self-guilt, people-pleasing, that I needed to please myself. Because I learned that, man. If you go through your life people-pleasing somebody, like you're a guy and you people-please a girl, in my case, the girl's going to just not respect you. Because, at least in my case, because think about it. If all you're doing is people-pleasing someone else, it sends a message that you can't even take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like, that people-pleasing went side by side with that self-guilt, man. So I learned that by raising my kids, being single, to learn to love myself more, take care of myself more.
Fuck yeah, man. That's important.
I mean, I don't know why we're talking about this shit, but anytime, I just try to, I always just feel like in life, you're constantly learning, and you're constantly growing. Anything that I've learned, for me, I always want to share some PMA that maybe could help somebody else, whether it works for them or not. It might not work. Everything I'm saying might not work for you at all.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you my story of you can change and you can reprogram your way of thinking if you just try.
Fuck yeah.
And you can release the pain that you've been carrying in your life if you just try.
That's awesome, dude. And I know you said you don't know why we're talking about it, but that's what I like talking about, because anybody that wants to listen to you talk about BMX stuff, there's a million interviews of you talking about BMX stuff.
Right.
I wanted to get to know you. I wanted to this is, I think, important topics for people to talk about. So I appreciate you opening up like that. So.
I mean, growth in anything is great, and shit, I'm 50. When I'm 70, I'll probably learn even more than I know now. But I just know time is so short, man, and just took me a long time to learn to like myself ultimately.
Yeah.
Really long time.
So what's the future hold for you now? I see that you're still writing, but
yeah.
I mean, like you said, you're 50. I don't know how much longer you want to keep doing that. I know you're dipping your toes in comedy. I know you probably want to do more TV stuff, more movie stuff. So I mean, what's the future looking like for you?
All of it, dude. I'm getting ready to film this new movie coming up. I can't speak too much about it, but it's going to be pretty rad.
Nice.
Yeah, we have another meeting next week about it, and so they've already started production as far as locations and casting other talent and stuff like that. So it's gonna be awesome. Music, comedy, entertaining, writing. I have my own podcast, radio, all of it, bro, all of it, 100%. And now that my kids are getting older, and they're eventually gonna be adults, I've had to stop touring to raise them. So the sacrifice that I made to raise them was who's going to take them on?
Yeah.
I have to man up. I don't have mom to watch the kids.
Sure.
So I could go hit the strip. If no one's watching the kids, I ain't hitting the strip.
Right.
You feel me? And that was my life. I had to sacrifice so much for them because I love them so much. But I still was able to do for me. But there's some things that I did have to,
Sure.
But now that they're older, I want to tour. I want to tour with my band. I'm going to tour with comedy. These are my goals.
Okay.
Film more TV, more hosting. I would love to eventually have my own show again, and not just be I'm riding till I can't ride anymore, and then what?
Yeah.
I've been doing so much other shit all these years anyways. But That's what my goal is, to be back on the road again, and my kids are obviously old enough to take care of themselves, and I could
join you on the road if they want to. And
they could, yeah.
You know
well, my son's really into football, and his dream is to be a pro football player, which is totally opposite than how I was. Punk rockers, we didn't really get along with the football players at school.
Sure, yeah.
And it was just kind of weird because like one-on-one I'd get along with them, but as a group it didn't work. Like the bikers and the skaters, and then it was always a battle. But then one-on-one they'd be like, "What's up?" I'm like, "Hey, what's up, man?" So I've always tried to get along with everybody, but that's his dream. He's going in his 4th year, tackle. He's a receiver. He's fucking great. He's badass. We train a lot. He's in training every night or 3-4 times a week, speed training. That's his dream. My daughter's surfing. Her deal's surfing. She wants to surf. She wants to surf the world. So I'm like just teaching them what I know mentally to make it. Physically, I'm not a surfer, but I know what it takes to get there.
The
and
drive.
So, the drive and the always thinking about it and always talking about it in a positive way. So anyhow, for them, because people ask me all the time, like, "Is your son ride?" And I'm like, "No." They're like, "Oh." I'm like, I became a pro, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to live through my kid.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to push him to be something I wasn't. Like, he don't want to ride bikes. I'm not going to force the dude. But what are you going to do? Because we ain't going to be sitting here. And so that's always been my attitude. Like, let them find their own way, what they like, and not me persuade what I think they should do.
Yeah, then you end up with hateful kids at that point. If you force them into something, they
waste of time.
They grow up to hate you, and then it creates problems if you're forcing them to do it.
I see football dads do that now.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, come on, man.
If your kid says, "I don't want to do this," and you're like, "But you gotta for the team."
Well, it's not even so much that. You can just tell that, like, I used to play, and I quit, and then it's me. It's like I never played.
Yeah.
I didn't even like the sport. I mean, I liked it, but not like I do now. I love it now.
Yeah.
Football's great. It's our bond. I learned, and the Chiefs won. Oh man, that's so sick. Some from Kansas City, but you do that for your children. So for them to be on the road with me, maybe, but I want them to be like the best they can doing their thing that makes them happy.
That's awesome.
Like any parent would want for their kid, I guess.
Well, you would think.
You would think, yeah. You would think.
Cool, man. Well, I'm going to wrap it up a little in a minute here so you can get your salad done in 40 minutes. So
I know this probably was totally opposite than what you thought it would be.
No, dude. No, this is
you're
exactly
like,
what I
come in
wanted.
and brag about like all my accomplishments and bike riding tricks and shit, and you're like, dang, this fucking dude's dropping like psychological warfare, like how to change your brain and reprogram.
No, I like it. I
and
love
no more pain and get rid of it.
I love it. I'm not, this isn't a skate show. This isn't a bike show. This isn't a sports show. It's the whole concept is me meeting people I admire that are doing something with their lives, and I want to hear their story. I want to hear their struggle. I want to hear how they achieved getting past that struggle. So it was perfect, man.
Oh, cool. All right, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
So social media plugs for you at
Rick Thorne. It's
everywhere.
it's like basically Rick, like R-I-C-K, and then Thorne with an E, T-H-R-N-E, and then I have a website, rickthorne.tv. I'm mostly on Instagram. Even though I have the Facebook and the Twitters and stuff, I'm pretty much always on Instagram the most.
And your podcast, what's it called?
Podcast is called The Rick Thorne Show, and my band is called Good Guys in Black.
Nice.
And so I have all of that stuff as well. Instagram's for all that stuff, and Facebook's and shit, and websites. But websites for the band, not the podcast. But yeah, man, just I really appreciate you, meet me and let me be on your show, dude.
Hell yeah, dude. I appreciate you.
And anybody out there, dude, you could change. If you want to change for the better. Stay rad. I'm Rick Thorne.
Dude.
Peace out.
Cheers.
Sometimes you just wanna run away. Don't know if you can go another day. Might feel like all your hope is gone. Soldier for what? Keep moving on.